afternoon for the Career Pathways in Health and Human Services webinar. We're very excited that, for our panelists, for Dr. Mitzi Lowe, additional Fresno State staff, and for all the participants that are joining us this afternoon. My name is Nora Diaz Vasquez, and I am a career counselor with the Career Development Center. I am also the career liaison to the College of Health and Human Services. So with us today, we have Damian Lay, who is the Employer Connection Specialist to the Career Development Center, as well as Debbie Young, the Director to the Career Development Center, and Robert Pagemouth, who is the Coordinator to the College of Health and Human Services College, Academic and Career Development Center. Our moderator this afternoon is the Associate Dean to the college, Dr. Mitzi Lowe. So we're very happy and very thankful for her being here today and moderating our panel. We have 6 recent alumni, 6 recent graduates, alumni from the College of Health and Human Services, and actually 1 from the College of Science and Math. So we're very excited to have a diverse group of panelists who will be sharing some of their stories with you. So we hope you enjoy this webinar. It is being recorded and it will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel and accessible via the Career Development Center's website. So if you would like to access that in the future, that's where that will be housed. So without further ado, I would like to hand it over to Dr. Lowe to begin with the panel. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Nora, and good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank all of our panelists for taking time to be with us today and share their insights and experiences since becoming a graduate from Fresno State. This panel is an opportunity for alumni to discuss their career path with incoming and current Fresno State students. And students, these type of events are really important because you have a chance to learn about paths you may not have really thought about previously. Additionally, you get to hear about real world experiences and get tips from alumni on how to be successful during and after your Fresno State education. So we're really happy to have our alumni with us today and appreciate their willingness to spend some time with us. So let's go ahead and get started by having our alumni introduce themselves and tell us, what degree did you graduate with? And what a typical day looks like in your current role. Shelby, do you want to begin?
Yes, my name is Shelby Lozano. I'm from Porterville, California. I graduated from Fresno State in 2018 with my degree in kinesiology, physical education, teacher education. And I just finished my 2nd year teaching elementary physical education. I was an intern my first year and my first 2 years of teaching. I also received my teaching credential through the Kremen School through Fresno State. I am currently teaching via distance learning. I teach 4th, 5th, and 6th grade students. And yeah, that's a quick little bio.
Whoever would like to go next?
Okay, Dr. Lowe, I'll go ahead and go next. My name is Vidal Bejarano. I'm actually a recent graduate. I just graduated this past May with my bachelor's in social work. So currently my day looks like is I work in the mental health and substance abuse counseling field. I'm a supervisor or administrator, we call for a in-custody juvenile detention facility program. And my day typically starts with check-ins, team meetings, WebExes, and review of center operations policies. Also to, every day I'm constantly looking for new ways to expand services via the platform that we use to communicate with clients. And then I also have a small caseload myself, so I do some online counseling with youth via telephone at our Fresno County Juvenile Justice Facility on a daily basis as well. So essentially, it's a kind of a day of my life.
Great, thank you. Omar, you want to go next?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Omar Rocha. I am an outreach specialist with the Lock It Up Project. The Lock It Up Project is a community-based program designed for the prevention of abuse and misuse of prescription over-the-counter drugs. It's a program under the CHC. The CHC is a nonprofit organization that focuses on the underserved and underrepresented population. So we provide different resources for these communities that are in need. So we have different programs, variety of programs from diabetes, nutrition, maternal, substance abuse. But what I do on my daily life before this COVID-19, because right now we're working from home and we're trying to do the best thing that we can do through home. But before this COVID-19, what we would do is we would go out to the communities all over Fresno County and communicate and connect with youth so we can provide educational information regarding prescription drugs or substance abuse. Usually what I do is I actually lead a youth coalition in Fireball High School. We create different flyers, educational tools that the community in Fireball can use to reduce the substance abuse in that community. So, and I think I didn't say what I graduated in. So I graduated as public health under health administration in 2019.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here with us, Omar.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Tamara, would you like to go next?
I'd be happy to. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Tamara Hansen. I graduated in May of 2016 with a degree in communicative disorders and deaf studies with an emphasis on speech and language pathology. That is not what I'm presently doing, which is A-okay, but I'm currently living in Las Vegas. I've been out here for 3 years now, working in corporate convention sales for MGM Resorts, specifically now at Aria Resort and Casino. My day-to-day looks a lot different in the wake of COVID-19. It was previously commuting into work in a business suit every day and working a very 9-to-5 in the office job, and now fully remote. So just doing everything I can to maintain client relationships and staying connected with everyone virtually.
Great. Thank you so much for being with us. Brent, would you like to go?
Yeah, hi, I'm Brent Huerta. I graduated with a degree in kinesiology. I currently work for Stryker Orthopedics, specializing in trauma. My day-to-days are very different. I don't usually know what I'm doing each day until the morning. I basically go into the operating room with surgeons and our plates or screws or implants and help them fix things. So whether that be a hip fracture and a hip nail, or today I'm going to be fixing like 3 tibias. So I go in and I'm basically the product expert. I also have a sales component to my job to get new business. So that's why I don't know until day of, because trauma surgery happens very quickly. In COVID-19, nothing really changed for me because people kept breaking stuff. So I was just having to be a little bit more clean and masked up. But beyond that, is anything else? Is that it?
Thank you for being with us. And Chan.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Lowe. So hi, everyone. My name is Chan, and I graduated in 2018 with a bachelor's degree in psychology. I'm actually also a current student pursuing a graduate degree in counseling, specifically in student affairs and college counseling. And a lot of my work experience has to do with government agencies. So I started at the County of Fresno as an eligibility worker for 4 years, and I built my experience with working with families, applying for public assistance and benefits. And then with my bachelor's degree, I was able to promote and apply for a job at the state of California, specifically in the California Department of Social Services as a disability evaluations analyst. I'm currently on a leave of absence to focus on my graduate degree, but with my work there, prior to COVID-19, I was basically working in an office where we are evaluating disability claims for Social Security. So that's requesting medical records, reviewing medical records, and also working alongside with a medical doctor in the office and evaluating their level of disability if they are able and qualify for disability benefits. But as of right now, since I am also a counseling intern with the Advising and Resource Center at the College of Science and Math, And I'm also at SupportNet as an academic coach. So my day-to-day right now is basically working with students, incoming freshmen at dog days, and helping them register for classes.
Wonderful. Again, thank you all for being with us today. We really appreciate it. I have some questions for the panelists, but I also recognize that we're getting quite a few chats and some comments that we may want to address. Debbie, do we want to go ahead and answer some of the chat questions before I begin mine?
Sure, I've answered some of them, but you have an incoming student to Fresno State who's looking at healthcare administration, but they're also looking at business as well. And curious if any of you have any experience working. I know, Brent, you're in a hospital setting. She wants to get into hospital administration and kind of wondering the career path to do that.
Yeah, I work with some people like that. There's one of my previous partners actually is the materials manager over at Regional Hand in Fresno. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but he actually runs a lot of their day-to-day operations. The admin side, I have noticed there's some who did go through a hospital admin background to get into there. I also do know a lot of the administrators at hospitals tend to be nurses that have climbed that administrative role and end up in being like OR managers. Like almost all the OR managers are nurses. So I think it kind of boils down to how much you want to be with patient involvement. The ones that are more direct with the patient's involvement definitely are usually like nurses, nursing background, or some type of medical treatment background like my role. Or if you just want to get straight into the business side, I am not sure on that specific career path. I just know that some people have no patient contact ever. They get into more like the true business of the hospitals with billing and
Thank you, appreciate that. The student, I also emailed you some other information because I actually personally worked in healthcare, and I have an MBA and an undergraduate degree in healthcare administration. So that person is welcome to email me as well. I put that in the chat feature. Mitzi, just let me check. I think there's so there are not any nurses here. Unfortunately, no, today we did have a nurse on the panel, but they actually had a work emergency and had to go to work. So that's the life of a nurse, right? So unfortunately, we don't have a nurse here today, but you can certainly reach out to Nora or to Mitzi or Robert Page Smith in the College of Health and Human Services, and we could connect you with someone in that field. Correct, Mitzi?
Absolutely. And we're also hoping that we're going to do some more of these panels. And so we'll work really hard to make sure when we do this again that we will. Any other questions before I move on?
Not at this time, Mitzi. I think you're good to go.
Okay, thank you. All right, so first question. And we'll just kind of do this popcorn style. So whoever feels like, you know, jumping in and chiming in or building off of what someone else says, that will be fine. Please tell us about some experiences you participated in while in college that you think helped you in your chosen profession. And is there anything you would have done different? Place. Anyone chime in?
I apologize. For some reason, part of the question you're reading off got cut off or something there. I don't know if anybody else experienced that.
I will repeat it for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure. Tell us about experiences you participated in while in college that you think helped you in your chosen profession. And is there anything you would have done differently in college, knowing what you know today about the workplace?
I can definitely start. Well, I currently still work for the same organization I started work for. Obviously, I work for mental health and substance abuse provider for juveniles and the juvenile justice campus. But what experiences helped me right now currently in my job was not only some of the academic classes, like the research classes I've taken and stuff, but as well as the policy classes that I also had to take as a major in social work. Since my graduation, my employers, kind of tasked me now as reviewing our own policies right now, and examining them, to weigh them out, how they're culturally appropriate. Do our policies, who do our policies benefit? Who do our policies not benefit? All these different factors that come out there. Another experience that I also got while I was there is I was invited to participate in the BA committee there by Dr. Cronin, which I was, as a student, I brought the student perspective to some of the meetings that we've done there. And I felt like that was really satisfying because, one, as a student, got to voice some concerns. I was always talking to a lot of my colleagues in classes to kind of bring that there, but also too, it was really interesting to see how policy formation was happening there on campus. Like, this is like real stuff and real policy formations that have affected administration, curriculum delivery, even discussions on like staffing patterns, like who's going to teach what kind of classes and stuff. And I've never got to experience that before. And I'm already drawn upon some of those experiences even now as I start looking at some things going on with me professionally right now.
Great, thank you, Vidal. Others?
Hi, everyone. I'm happy to chime in on this point. I think for me, some of the most valuable takeaways from my college experience were definitely being involved in multiple different things and kind of diversifying my experiences. So I was very committed to my academia, studying, getting involved in classes, getting to know the people in those classes, getting to know your professors, asking questions. I think all of that is, of course, why you're there. But I think you're also there to expand upon that even more so. I myself was involved with the FFA Field Day Committee, so agriculture, yay. And then also I was in a sorority, so expanding that there, got an opportunity to be involved in a lot of different leadership roles throughout that time. And then also as a peer mentor for students with disabilities. So I think through saying yes to multiple different things, and obviously avoid from spreading yourself too thin, that's definitely can happen, and burnout can happen. So I think that's something I would advise against, but definitely taking the opportunity to do multiple different things and just experience them, because you'll never know what you would learn from those experiences.
Great.
I also have some good advice for something I wish I'd known in college going in is, which I kind of knew, but I didn't really take advantage of, was my career advisor. I didn't really get in touch with them until like my junior year, and had them basically, them and my academic advisor really kind of direct me, because it's really easy to get into college and kind of take whatever you want and just kind of do whatever you want. And next thing you know, it's like you're 3 years in and you have 3 more years of classes to take because you took stuff that doesn't help you towards your degree. So I did that. So I basically had a year of extra courses I didn't need to have taken, because I was like, oh, wine tasting, that sounds great. And you end up kind of in that situation, you can easily. So I definitely recommend meeting with your counselors and your advisors consistently, like at least annually, and help them, or allow them to help you select your classes and your pathway you're trying to go to. I know someone said they're thinking about going to medical school in the questions, and medical school, your specific title of your degree is not as important as taking all the prerequisites to be able to take the test to apply to medical school. That's probably the most important part. It could, if you kind of form your own degree, you just have to make sure you take all the right courses to get there, and your advisors can really help you with that. I was also involved in a fraternity, and if you're someone who can be easily distracted, I don't know if that's a good route for you, but if you're someone who is well driven, it was a really good social dynamic for me, because most of my friends either went into the military or moved away for school. So I was kind of by myself on campus originally. So that really did kind of help me establish relationships to get myself through school without hating going. So.
Great. Thank you, Brent.
To chime in about getting involved in a lot of extracurricular activities through Fresno State is what I enjoyed the most. I was the president for 2 clubs on campus. I started joining clubs my freshman year. I was a true freshman coming in. I wasn't a transfer student. So I lived in the dorms my first 2 years of college. I was part of the Resident Halls Association. I also was part of the Catholic Student Association on campus, their Rotaract club on campus, and the Kinesiology Physical Pedagogy Club, which is for physical education majors. And I held roles in those as leadership. I also worked for the Student Recreation Center as an intramural official and worked with the Recreation Center, which a lot of students use at Fresno State, and professors and staff as well. And in my major, I had the opportunity to work towards my career of being a physical education teacher through the courses I took. I had the opportunity to co-teach elementary students in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade prior to becoming a physical educator. So that was something that I truly enjoyed. I also was able to help students who were choosing a pre-health pathway with Fresno Unified School District, and I taught lessons to students over the summertime for a couple weeks through Fresno State. And one thing I wish I did a little differently was enjoy, like I went to a lot of sporting events, but take time to enjoy and make room for more of your time and not so much all academia, because it can get overwhelming. And like someone had mentioned, don't run yourself too thin. But it was a great experience, and it did help me for my career. And the networking opportunities I had as a sophomore, junior, and senior standing at Fresno State, I networked with physical education teachers from up and down the state of California, across the nation, and around the world. I had the opportunity to meet people from all around the world who are physical educators, and the networking opportunity is something that truly helped me be where I am now. And so that's, yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Shelby.
Hey, Mitzi, can I interject a couple questions here?
Absolutely.
So, Brent, you had covered a little bit. A student is asking, is pre-health a good major to get into med school, is one question. And I don't know if Nora, Mitzi, or Robert want to maybe take that question.
Yeah, I think Robert would be a good person to respond to that, please. Is Robert there?
Robert, are you?
Oh yeah, sorry about that. It's
okay.
freezing up on me. We've been telling students that the pre-health major more goes towards, if you want to go towards like nursing, public health, community health, kinesiology, exercise science, maybe along the lines of our social work degree. Those are the 4 majors that kind of flow into pre-health. Talking with the College of Science and Mathematics and looking at the prerequisites that there are for medical school, a lot of the students and the advisors in science and mathematics have recommended more looking towards one of those majors, just because of the sequential order of classes you have to take for medical school coincide with a couple of the majors on in the science and mathematics field, like way better than they would trying to go through the pre-health route, where you have to get permission numbers and special permission to get into classes and stuff like this. So we've been really directing a lot of students towards the College of Science and Mathematics Advising Resource Center to talk with their counselors about what would be the best route for pre-med. And we're working pretty closely with them because, you know, we have students who start, think they want to do pre-med and then end up in the College of Health and Human Services. And we have students who start in College of Health and Human Services and end up over in the College of Science and Mathematics.
Thank you, Robert.
And then Nora, maybe, sorry. Yes, thank you, Mitzi. And thank you, Robert. Nora, somebody's asking about what if I'm interested in an internship, or maybe I want to be a peer mentor like Tamara mentioned. Where might they look for resources for internships and peer mentorships on campus?
So let me turn on my video real quick. One of the resources that is available to all current students and alumni is the Higher Fresno State System. So that would be a place where you can look for, for opportunities online. The other thing that I would recommend is either like reaching out to me, reaching out to faculty, and reaching out to, to your network. So, there are a lot of people and resources on campus. I myself can help, to get you connected with either alumni or just give you a list of organizations that have hosted students in internships or even volunteer opportunities. So I don't think there's like one place to go. I think it's a multitude of people and resources that are there. So me being one of them, so you can definitely reach out to me. Again, I'm the liaison to the College of Health and Human Services, so I'd be more than happy to sit down with you and brainstorm what some of those you know, settings, what they could look like, and especially what that student might be looking for specifically.
Thank you, Nora. Mitzi, one more, and I'll kind of combine two together. Maybe for Robert again is, what about minoring or double majoring? Did anybody on the panel do that? And I'm not sure what you want to advise on that. And then someone wants to know, what is the difference between public health and kinesiology?
Questions? Robert, do you want to take that?
Yeah. Okay, so the first question, say that again, Debbie. The first portion of the question was?
Sorry, double majoring or a minor. Any suggestions on that?
We highly suggest that if it can be planned out correctly. We do have multiple majors on our campus that can parallel different majors within the College of Health and Services pretty well. However, it will really just depend on the agreeing of both majors for that to happen. We have some kind of pretty strict rules on campus about graduating within a certain amount of units. When you declare that double major, it's easier when it's earlier in your college career. We can kind of plan out the courses so they kind of blend together. So you take less units, because overall that's the goal. It's like, you don't want to be here for like Brent said, like to be here for, 5, 6, 7 years, because you're taking all these extra classes. And if we can help kind of blend them together so that you can be graduate in a good amount of time, have the education, or even a minor. We talk about minors a lot. Minors are great. You can get a lot of good education and information. I have a bachelor's degree in social work from the College of Health and Human Services, a master's degree in counseling, but my bachelor's degree, I had a minor in anthropology. And why? Because I like people, places, and cultures. So it was a really cool thing for me to do, and it blended right into my social work degree. My counselor was able to help me to kind of figure that out so that every single class counted towards something, either in like electives or part of my major. So yeah, that's very advisable. We always tell us to come talk to us. And as far as the difference between public health, community health, and kinesiology, exercise science, it really depends on what your educational goals are, what your career goals are. You can, with the degree, you can do a lot of things. Exercise science really a lot of times focuses on going towards like a master's degree in exercise physiology, or if you want to go on to be a PA or a physical therapist, or exercise science, or if you want to go on and get like you want to work in the fitness field. A lot of those, we have a clinical, non-clinical route for exercise science. Public health, community health, a lot of times get you prepared to go on to be a health educator in multiple different fields. A lot of times people end up going, go back to get their master's degree, just because even our instructors and share of our department will say, the bachelor's degree in public health will set you on the path, but it's not going to get you the career you probably want. But it is a more broad, like, health education.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, before we move on to the next question, Chan, did you have anything you wanted to add to the first question?
Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of add on to what Tamara was saying, not to spreading yourself out too thin, because that was something I also did during undergraduate school. I started off at UC Merced as a peer mentor, which really brought me to the field of student affairs and made me fall in love with working with students and helping them through their struggles. But in between all of that, I went and got a full-time job at the County of Fresno, working as an eligibility worker, while also completing my bachelor's degree. And I think the thing that I would have done differently was just trying to engage with my professors more, because every time I would get off of work, I was tired. So I would sit in the back of the classroom, not really engage and get to know my peers. So when it came to applying for grad school and getting a letter of recommendations, I really scrambled at the last minute. So that's something I would probably do differently. Just, make time for extracurricular activities. You're doing your undergraduate degree. That's an experience for you to get to know people professionally, network, and also just make some lifelong connections and relationships.
Great, thank you. Next question for the panelists. What skills do you think college students need to gain to best prepare for the world of work?
I'll go start. Well, in social work, we do a lot of group projects and group work. And I really feel like that a skill that not I learned to benefit me, but I feel like, even kind of just processing with my peers at the end is how do people work together, especially when you have disagreements. You have a disagreement about this or that, and you'd be surprised how oftentimes that skill translates to the professional setting. Everybody's going to have different, especially if you work with different disciplines and you work in different things. I imagine hospitals have a variety of disciplines. I know there's a lot of questions about hospitals, and being able to speak from your perspective, your expertise, the research you've done. I think the working in groups provides a great platform for people to effectively communicate, and then ultimately work together as a team. You work in a lot of teams in these professional settings, and being able to work as a group, and also even in the clubs, on campus there as well, and stuff like that. All those kind of experiences just translate later on to invaluable skills.
Great, thank you. Others?
I'll chime in. I would say there's two skills I think you really need to kind of develop in college. One of them is for the outside world is self-responsibility, especially in my role. I don't even know exists, but my boss lives in Sacramento. I don't talk to him daily. I'm the territory lead from Merced to Bakersfield. I kind of manage the hospitals, the ORs, and the trauma aspect of it. And if I decide not to do anything, I could easily do it. So if I wasn't responsible for myself and my business, it would be detrimental to my company and me overall. So that's something that's kind of like owning it yourself and owning your actions and not trying to let everybody else's affect you directly, but paying attention to them. And I had one more really good one that I completely forgot. But that is one I would say is definitely really big, depending on what you get into. And also develop a thirst for learning, because when you get out into the world, you went to college, you got a degree, to be completely honest, that's great. You have a great background knowledge, but when you get into a professional setting, I've worked for different medical device companies, and every company is different. All the products are somewhat similar to a point, but the way the company functions different. Who you're working with is different. You have to constantly be learning. In the medical field, the standard of care is constantly changing. So if you're not willing to learn and adapt, you will be left behind. And someone who's willing to learn more and willing to do the research and keep learning and keep broadening their horizons is definitely going to be more successful than someone who just stops learning and thinks they know everything.
Very good advice. Thank you.
And to piggyback off of what Brant was saying, that also leads into networking. That's what I found has helped me, especially in my career, and I'm sure in many, and if not all careers. But that thirst for knowledge is something that I have found myself doing. I started in college attending state conferences and as well as a national conference for my field. And I have still continued to go to those conferences and workshops and learning new things for my career. And through that, I have had the opportunity to network.
Great.
And I kind of want to also chime in, if that's okay as well.
Absolutely.
For with the whole thirst for learning idea. And I think that an important skill, which is also very evident for me in my internships, is the ability to accept feedback and apply it as well. Sometimes receiving criticism can be, scary and it may be hurtful, but keep in mind, you got to remind yourself that these are people or your superiors or coworkers who are really wanting you just to learn. And reminding yourself that it's an opportunity for you to grow and build on your skill sets as well.
Thank you. Tamara?
I think those are all definitely true. I think another one to mention is time management. I think that's, it can be challenging, but if you can master it, I think we're all still working to master it. I don't think the job is ever done. But we all have the same number of hours and minutes in a day, and it's all about how you use them and how you structure them for yourself. And I think it can be really challenging coming from potentially right out of high school, living with your parents, having that routine, and then coming to college where there's no one really monitoring you that closely. So to Brent's point previously, check in with your counselors, figure out your routine, and really try to stick to that, because there's a lot of things that are going to come at you, but you're going to have to prioritize and learn how to manage your time.
And Tamara, I want to piggyback off of that, what you said about time management. I'd like to learn more about where you learned about time management. And a question for everyone here is what resources did you use on campus or off campus as you developed into a professional student and then onto your career?
I would say I learned by failing at it miserably. To be completely transparent, I think you kind of get thrown into the fire. And for me, I'm a yes person. I want to say yes to everything. I'm a people pleaser. I want to just do it all. And then realizing, oh shoot, I still have to sleep. I still have to eat. I still need to like work out. There's all these things that you still need to do for yourself. So I think it's okay if you catch yourself and you can be self-aware enough to notice, okay, I've gone way too far now. I need to figure it out. For me, what's really helped is creating, especially a morning routine. That's my time for me. Some people it's in the evening, some people it's in the middle of the day, but making sure I carve out that time for myself. And then from there, just outlining my days. That's been huge, because I do still want to be involved and say yes to a ton of things, but I can't show up as my best self and be effective if I'm not properly caring for myself and how I'm managing my time. So I think you learn by trial and error and experience, and you figure out what works for you, but what works for me is a schedule, and managing and maintaining that schedule.
Others, resources that you used?
I used my advisor a lot. I was sitting outside of his office every week for 2 years, and really reaching out to my major advisor, and as well as through the Health and Human Services advising, and making sure that I'm on the path to graduate on time. My biggest thing coming into Fresno State is graduating in 4 years. That was my personal goal, and I achieved that goal. And having to use someone else when I don't like to ask for help, but to ask for that help and advice. And like, I still fail at time management, and I'm working on it, but you fail forward. You fail to learn as you go and to pick it up. And time management for me, being a teacher, I have students that I have to teach, and that's my job. So I can't be late to class. So otherwise I can lose my job. So having that time management throughout the day is what I'm still working on, but I think a lot of us are, so that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Shelby. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the next question for time's sake. Panelists, was your current position your first job after graduation? And if not, what position did you accept to get you prepared for your current professional role? Tamara, you have an interesting story, I'm sure. Sorry, Brent, we'll come right back to you.
One of these is not like the other. So I went to school. My goal is similar to Shelby's. I was like, I'm paying for college myself. I'm working multiple jobs this whole time. Like, I need to be done in 4 years. So I went to college having really no clue what I wanted to do. So I started just trying to knock off all of my general ed courses, but I was taking like ag business, drama, like I was all over the place, just trying to get a little taste of everything, but still working towards the classes that I knew I needed to complete in order to be effectively managing those 4 years. Right out of college, I did apply to the graduate program for speech and language pathology. I was lucky enough to be admitted to Fresno State's program, but I was also offered a job opportunity and felt that that was the path I needed to take at the time, and would rather have left that seat for someone that was extremely passionate and knew that SLP was the path for them. So I did my first job out of college. I was an educational leadership consultant for the international headquarters of the sorority that I'd spent my time being involved in college. And for me, that looked like a year of traveling every 3 to 7 days. I was on an airplane headed to a different college campus, working with collegiate women on leadership development, authentic leadership, everything from that genre. So I spent a year doing that, obviously networking throughout that course of time. And after that year was up, I decided I wanted to break into corporate America in a sales role. And so someone who I'd met throughout my time in that role was actually the executive directors of sales at one of the hotels in Vegas. And she offered to pass my resume around, and I got a call, had an interview, moved to Vegas 3 years ago, and have just been working on kind of climbing that ladder within the corporate convention sales world in Las Vegas.
Thank you. I think that's a good example of the skills that we learn while we're in college can take us on many different paths. Vidal.
Oh, hello. So I'm still with the current agency that I'm doing right now. However, since graduating, and my supervisors have now been more aware of the skills that I now have. My plate has become more full, but I've also been offered, like, I guess, like you would say, like a lateral positions to where basically it expands my job description and so too. But it also benefited with an increase in pay as well. So it benefited me financially as well. I'm the main provider for my own family, and so immediately my degree is obviously benefiting my family as well. But it's also going to be opening up other additional job opportunities as well, as our organization seeks grants and expand services in other areas and other arenas. I've already been in discussion with different people about, like, hey, if we when we land these kind of grants, this would definitely like to see if there'd be a possibility for you to lateral over as well. So there's all those different opportunities that are going there. And just one other little note is I've been accepted to start the MSW program this fall, and so I'm continuing actually my career path just because this is working with people, interacting with people is what I want to do. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life, and I want to be in the helping profession, helping people. And social work, I'm very proud to be a social worker. Social work is definitely gonna, especially an MSW degree and getting more, is just gonna open up even more opportunities for me. So those are the people that I know you just got here. But after that, if you're already thinking that far down the line, and this is what you want to do, yeah, definitely it's just gonna create more opportunities for you.
Thank you.
So I started actually at Enterprise Rent-A-Car randomly. I went there off of advice for people because I knew I wanted in the healthcare on the business side of things and the sales side of stuff, but those roles are actually very challenging to get into because it's highly competitive and there's not a lot of spots. For example, Stryker's one of the largest medical suppliers in the world, and in the trauma division, there's 4 of us, Merced to Bakersfield, that cover all the trauma cases. So getting a spot, they don't come available often. So I was kind of asking people in that field how to get into it. They told me it was a good way to show you're willing to work really hard at something you're probably not passionate about. If you're passionate about rental cars, I apologize to you. I was not, but it was a good way to kind of springboard into the career I'm in. I was able to get kind of lucky and interview, but just for example, there's 36 other people interviewing for the spot when I started with a company actually called Smith & Nephew. And I knew from jobs I'd worked in college, I worked at like Abercrombie, it's not for me. I worked in a PT office. I wanted to go to PA or PT school originally following my undergrad. And I just kind of learned I didn't want to work hands-on with patients quite as often as those roles. So I looked to the surgical side, and that's kind of, I knew a 9 to 5 really wasn't for me either. And my job, I mean, just for example, today I'm going to go into some fractures starting at 2:30. I'll probably be in surgery till 10:30 tonight. So it's kind of cool for me because I like the instability of my job. It's not for everybody though.
Thank you. Others.
So I'll talk a little bit about my experience. After I graduated, I actually started working at the Amazon Fulfillment Center that just opened in 2018. before that I was applying to a lot of different jobs, and you know, with me, it took a while to hear back for them. So I was just wanting to get a job to get some kind of income after I had graduated. So I took a job at Amazon. About 6 months after that, I finally received you know, an email from the California Department of Social Services for a job that I had applied. And I did not expect that I was going to get an interview. So it was to my surprise that it was, you know, happening. Fortunately enough, I got the interview and I got the job. And the beauty of state jobs is that they have a tier system for their salary, the way they start their salary. And with the bachelor's degree, I actually almost doubled my salary, which was an awesome thing, because as a psychology major, we're often told that we have to start at entry-level jobs or pursue a graduate degree in order to get into the field that we want. But you know, with my bachelor's degree in a state job, I actually started off with a salary of $50,000, which was great for someone who graduated psychology major. So that's, you know, a misconception, I think, and it's just often like you really have to look through these jobs, the minimum qualifications, and do your research on what that looks like.
Omar, do you have anything to add?
So I was fortunate enough to, my last semester, I was fortunate enough to intern with the organization that I'm working with right now, currently. So I was interning under the diabetes program, and well, fortunately, right after my internship was done, the people that I was working with, they actually advised me to apply because I guess the CHC organization, once a position opens, it goes in-house, right? So they first inform the employees inside, and then they spread it out to the public. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to apply early. And so I think that was probably the key for me to getting that job. Just establishing a great relationship with the people that I was interning with, and just demonstrating that I was eager to learn and to work.
Great. Couple more questions, and then we'll leave some time also to see if we have any other questions from our students. What do you think set you apart from other candidates when you applied for jobs after graduation? Anyone?
Okay, I'll go. Being personable, I know that sounds really broad, but a lot of people, if you're an introvert, you're like, oh heck no, that's not me. But just being able to be able to have a conversation with somebody, that's a big part of almost any job, unless you're going into something where you're really not going to talk to anyone ever. But you know, being able to have a conversation with people, if you need to practice that skill, it's not a bad thing to practice, just to learn how to like converse and not over talk or under talk, or you know, try to find that right balance. And another thing is be willing to show you're willing to learn. That is something really big with some employers. And like when I interview people, I don't want to interview someone who thinks they got the world figured out. I want someone who knows that, you know, they can be sculpted and trained into being a really good employee for whatever the job is. I don't know if I did that well. I know that's what I look for now from people, but I also feel like I got kind of a little lucky with my interview process, and just the team previously liked me, because I don't know if there's anything in my resume really that set me apart. And I came from enterprise, so.
Okay. Others?
I kind of want to piggyback off of that too, if that's okay. I think it's very important that Brent says that, to really, you know, be personable, because I think, yes, my work experience and my degree really helped me stand out in a pile of applications. But when I went into that interview, if you are able to let your personality shine through and show that you are someone that you can work with and you're a positive person, I think that's the important part, is to really sell yourself to whoever's interviewing that you are a good fit for that environment, for that office, or for that department. And I think that's what really helped me get the jobs that I was able to apply for.
Thank you, Jen. Any others want to answer that?
I agree with everything the two gentlemen just said, but I would also agree, say that like diversifying your network, the more people you know, the better, because that just creates more opportunity. A lot of times people want to hire people that either they know or someone they know knows them. So I think the more that you can put yourself out there, strike up conversations with different people, the more that you can diversify your network, the better that will be for you. And it's okay to practice interviewing. That can sound awkward, but the more that you practice that, the more confident you'll sound in your responses.
And also one thing, I think earlier question touched on some of this too, is about figuring out what your career path's going to be. I think Brent was one that said that he took a bunch of classes that didn't go with that, and I think that's important there too, because once you're figuring out your career path and you're aligning your classes, you're also going to want to look for the networking opportunities that are going to be related to where you want to go. And then you're also, sometimes, because I do hires as well, volunteer work, all these other different experiences that they've done, especially if you come in and you're trying to kind of show your personality, show that you're a good fit for this place, and you're a good fit for the office culture, and you're passionate about the work. You're also going to have the experiences to also draw upon and demonstrate to, hey, look, I've also been passionate. This is why I spent my internship doing this, or this is why I did my class project on this, or this is why I did some volunteer time on this and this, And so you shape all that process into the career that you, or the field that you really want to go to.
Thank you so much. Shelby?
For myself, I learned just doing some background research on before going into an interview, showing the people who are hosting this interview, I did my homework and I am very passionate about this job opportunity, and that shows just your eagerness and your willingness to work hard and succeed in that field. That's what I did. I didn't get my first interview. In fact, I really do agree about practicing your interviews. And even if you go to a job interview and you might want the job, but you want that practice, I did those career made where everyone comes to interview, and that truly helped me in getting myself comfortable, because I get nervous talking to people, and but just having that practice. And you don't have to say yes to your first job offer. You can say no, and I think knowing that and doing that background information and doing your homework before a job interview had helped me.
Great advice. You froze up there for a little bit, but were you finished, Shelby?
Yes.
Okay, great. Any other comments from anyone else? Omar?
Yeah, I think one of the things to keep in mind is to just know that you're competing with other applicants, right? So try to make, when I applied for this position, I always thought that I wanted to be outstanding, right? So I wanted to be confident, outstanding. I think just taking that into consideration, and going back to what Shelby said, and doing your homework and searching out the company and what they do and their values, and then just kind of repeating some of their values to them makes them seem that you care about the company, that you care about the position. So I think that's a very, very important note to take.
Great advice. We only have just about 5 minutes left now, and I wish we had a lot longer, because I have a lot of other questions I'd love to ask our panelists, and I'm sure students would have a lot of questions as well. Thank you again for the time you've given us today. But and Debbie, do you have anything before I go into the last question I want to ask?
Sure. Dr. Lowe, maybe you could answer this. Somebody wants to know if the programs in your college are affiliated with any hospitals or clinics where they'll be receiving experience as they're going to school.
We have partnerships with all of our regional hospitals, and we have numerous clinical placements and internships in them as well, nursing, social work, kinesiology, so forth. So yes, we do have agreements with our regional hospitals.
And then
be happy to talk more about that later. Go ahead, Debbie.
Thank you, Dr. Lowe. Brent, I think you had mentioned that you belonged to a fraternity while you were in college. Somebody wanted to know, is that like super distracting? How do you do that and do everything else? Would you recommend to join a sorority? Fraternity is the question.
Yeah, I did type back to that one, but just to kind of speak on it a little more, it really comes down to you as a person. My GPA going into the fraternity went up about 0.5 after I joined. That's not the story for everybody. The story for me is because realistically, you're around 30 to 60 other guys constantly. And then that's just in your house, and there's a lot of others. My mindset was, I do not want to be the dumbest person out of all these people. So I actually worked harder. It does give you people to do things with. We would go to the library and study a lot. It gave me people. I lived in a house as well, and I graduated with over a 3.0. I think I had like a 3.5 overall. But if you are someone who is very easily distracted, is going to choose hanging out over carving out time to study or do your homework, it's definitely not for you. But I do recommend trying it if you're really interested, because if you try it early and you realize it's not something you're able to balance, it gives you time to leave. But if you wait till your senior year and you join and then trash your GPA right before you graduate, that's a bad idea. Just saying.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Lowe, one other question quite a few people are asking is, and this is a huge question, so how do you find a job after you graduate, and what was the kind of the job search process? Was it easy? Was it hard? That's been asked several times today.
Okay. And I think some of that was touched on when they talked about what set them apart. So are they talking more specific?
I think we could do a follow-up with a visit to the.
Yeah, if we could find that out, because I think they addressed, what set them apart in the job search. So I'm not sure specifically what they're referring to. Can we come back to that in just a second? Okay. Can we come back to that, Debbie?
Yeah, I'll email the person right now. Thanks.
Okay. I don't want to end this session today without acknowledging the challenges that all of us are facing during this pandemic. And, I want to acknowledge that I know this is a challenging time for our students. And, we want to do all that we can to support you. We know that it's challenging as we've had to move and transition towards virtual instruction. I want to make sure that our students are successful and stay engaged during this time. And I would just ask our panelists, do you have any tips for our students in these very unusual times?
Well, I am a teacher, and so I had to teach via distance learning. And the tools that I used were a lot from Fresno State in my teaching credential program, and having to get familiar with Zoom. I already had that background prior to distance learning, Google Classroom prior to distance learning. But one thing that I did was to stay connected with my students and with people around the community was a lot of Zoom meetings. And because we need that interaction. And I use TikTok, which is not what I thought TikTok was. I thought it was a song, but using social media and using platforms to reach out and following things from Fresno State via Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, things like that, and staying engaged. There's so many resources that Fresno State provides, and that's what I've used even as an educator now in my field, is using, what's Fresno State doing? What's someone else doing? And using that for me personally, even through this pandemic. And being able to come up with things like, as a teacher, having to come up with these ideas and willing to learn and willing to adapt. As well as I took classes online, and I do not like online classes personally, but some people are really great at it. But having that ability to adapt to things around me, that's what's helped me through this pandemic, and lots of Zoom meetings.
Thank you so much, Shelby. Are there tips from panelists?
I would just like to reiterate share a little bit more what Shelby's saying too. I know we hear the term a lot of times, social distancing, and I'm more of a bigger fan of physical distancing in that term, in the sense that we physically stay away from each other, but socially, we shouldn't. And in terms of personal health and things like that, as human beings, we're naturally wired to be social. And for us to isolate, for us to not be social with other people, can wreak some havoc on us. I know when I talk to clients over the phone who are families that are doing all this and they feel cut off from different people, there's a wide range of different things are going on, including what I'm seeing is more increases of symptoms of depression, as well as some even simple things like I had one client tell me that he's starting to feel like he's grinding his teeth more when he sleeps. Just different things that take place, and being mindful and practicing mindfulness, if anybody's a fan of that, but being mindful of yourself and your physical state and your emotional state, and doing those things to take care of yourself, and the things that that are going to not only feed your mind but feed your soul, feed your spirit there, and keep you safe and keep going through this pandemic.
Thank you. We're out of time. Debbie, any final?
Yeah, I think Nora and I were able to answer all the questions. We just want to remind the attendees that the Career Center is open all summer, and you can virtually connect with Nora or other career counselors in the office to continue these discussions. We think it's awesome to see all these alums out successfully working. They did it. You can do it too. So thank you to the panelists. I know you're very busy people. Good luck with surgery tonight until 10:30. I mean, you guys are doing some awesome work. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, we really appreciate you, and we hope you continue to find ways to be engaged with the university, and we appreciate you very much. And students, please reach out, and don't forget to take advantage of the resources on campus, and faculty and of your advisors. We're here to support you. So thanks everyone very much. Stay well.